Welcome to the Embrace Her Legacy podcast, the #1 personal development classroom for millennial women, hosted by Embrace Her Legacy founder and CEO, Maria I. Melendez. Ladies, get ready to evoke your feminine confidence and be inspired to master your relationship with yourself so you can fabulously live your legacy. If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. Don't forget to visit us at embraceherlegacy.com, where you can support our mission by making a donation of any amount or sign up to become part of our community of volunteers and supporters, the Embrace Her Legacy Collective. Our vision is for every woman and every girl to defeat her inner saboteur, master her relationship with self, and live out her legacy unapologetically. Enjoy the podcast.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Embrace Her Legacy podcast, the #1 personal development classroom for millennial women of color. And today's episode is literally me talking to two of my friends, and we are talking dating and social media, connected digitally but emotionally detached. I am talking to two people that are dead my friends. I'm literally going to call this season the friend season, because it seems like every episode I'm talking to people that I know personally, who I love, who I adore. We may have started with a professional relationship, but now we definitely consider each other friends. I have like I was going to say, Dana, you are like the most guested guest, but you're tied with one other person. But Dana Blair has been on this podcast. It's her third time. You know her, you've seen her. Dana Blair, she is an on-air host. She's an executive producer of the year. She's out here doing big things. She's also my friend, and I call her my favorite person from Louisiana ever. We have Dana Blair with us. And then I have my other girl, Stephanie Bernard. Stephanie is one of our board members over here at Embrace Her Legacy, and she is also doing amazing things, serving on the board and volunteering. But I thought I would get the two lovely ladies to just talk about, dating, social media, dating in 2020, 2021.
Okay.
Well, yeah. So let me start with y'all go ahead and introduce yourself, tell people a little bit about you, whatever you want to share.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay. My name is Dana. I'm a Capricorn. I like long walks on the beach. I don't live near a beach. I have a love-hate relationship with social media, but do it for work purposes. I think, recently I just started taking some mental health breaks from social media, especially, in this COVID world that we're living in right now. And it's been really, really good for me. So yeah, and it seems like technology and dating, that intersection of technology and dating is an important part of dating. I love speaking to people who are married or who have been in long-term relationships, because they're like, what's a Hinge? What's a Bumble? I was literally at a bar here in Chicago working from the bar last week, and this older gentleman, he was speaking to me. We had a wonderful conversation for like 2 hours. He's married, and he asked me if I was dating, and I said yes. And he's like, what dating apps you know? And I was like, Hinge. He's like, what's a Hinge? And I was
like, amazing.
Must be nice not to know.
Right?
Oh man. So I'm Stephanie Bernard. I met Maria a couple years ago, and the rest is history. I am a Libra, which probably tells you a lot about me. Leading with my heart. I can really read people, which gets me into trouble when it comes to dating, because I'll read you real quick and then that's that. So for better or worse, I do believe that there is something beautiful about this adventure, and we'll kind of see where life takes me. I cannot say that I'm thrilled about social either. You will not find me on the social media channels. You will find, like Dana, me working on the social media channels. I download and delete my dating apps weekly, monthly. People get on my last nerve. And so I'm on it for 3 days and then I'm off of it. So it's really, really interesting. I have not met anybody at a bar lately, but I visited my parents last month for a few weeks, and I opened the door for this guy and his kids at church, and he asked me to dinner, but he asked my father. The girl is in her 30s. Let me tell y'all, I'm in my 30s. So he hunts down my dad because he knows that my dad goes to church there, and figured out that I was from out of town, all of these things. Needless to say, we went on a date. It was not great. We could be friends. There's also some cultural differences there. So I think maybe culturally it made sense to go to my father, knowing who he was. So that was really interesting. But again, that was an in-person thing, as opposed to online. So I'm trying both here, but with the way that the world is, it seems like online is the way to go. I went to 3 weddings post COVID that were supposed to happen in 2020, all from online dating. Like they met online and dated. So it's interesting.
It's
One of the best. Oh, I was just going to throw something out there. I think I may have shared this with you, Maria. A very good friend of mine, I'm not going to put her name out there. She met her fiance. Fiance. I was thinking because, with COVID, weddings keep moving around, wedding dates. And she gave me a great tip. She said, set your online dates up like speed dating. She said she would book like 3 to 4 back to back in the same neighborhood in like different increments, so she could walk to the next one. And she's like, quick 30 minutes here, and she was like, you have to be efficient, Dana. You got to be efficient. She did my dating app. She's like, you need a thirst trap picture, please. And she like was updating. She's like, no, you needed this. And if they like only the thirst trap picture, then you know what you're dealing with. Like she was strategic. Like she was focused. So that's my tip I'm throwing out there before I forget it.
That's so good. So you need a thirst trap. All right. So you know what?
At least one, not all of them thirst trap.
Not all of them. Let's talk about dating online. That was one of the questions I was going to get to it, but since it came up, let's talk about apps and dating and how it's changed so much within the last 5 to 7 years. Like 10 years ago, it was still a little like, you dating online now. It seems like that's, Dana, you just said Stephanie, you just talking about couples who met online. I know so many couples married together right now that's how they met. What's been your experience with apps and just your overall, I guess within the last couple of years, how there's been such an uptick in using apps? And now that we were all locked down, apps definitely help. I think they said there was like a 200% increase in like Bumble or something.
Oh wow!
When COVID first, when the world first shut down. So, what are your experiences with apps and things like that? Now that we are more of us are meeting, whether on a Hinge or Instagram. So, what are your experiences?
Oh, the power of the DM. I mean, I'm not there, y'all. DM the people for me. But it's interesting. I think before 2020, and this we'll get into a little bit, my therapist, initially she was like, cast a wide net. You just need to go on dates. I don't care what you do. We are over the X. Let's go. So I was getting on a bunch of different dating apps. This is 2018, 2019. Again, people were getting married from these things. Not that isn't my measurement of success of a relationship, but there was a lot of things are happening. People are online. They're meeting people they never would have met in person because they would never have crossed paths in life. So I think there was something beautiful and great about being able to connect with people all over the city that you're in, all over another city. That's how another friend of mine, she went to Austin, met somebody. They're now, have been together for a few years now. So it can happen. But then I want to say, maybe I was doing that kind of 2018. And then we realized that wasn't working and I was getting really frustrated, or I was getting into my feels about like, I'm getting these swipes, no one will speak back, whereas at a bar they have nothing to do but like look at my face or physically walk away. Like they're forced to talk to me if I talk to them, or they'll say no ma'am and turn around and walk away. So but on apps nobody has to say anything. So I was getting really in my feels about that, and we realized actually we're going to cast a super tight net. So instead of just putting up the profile with the cutesy cheesy gotcha line in it, she was like, put a paragraph together that's actually you, that is very, very clear, and see if you get a different quality of human or somebody who's interested. And I will say that did work better. Now, then we went into lockdown. Nothing was really happening with those guys anyhow. So nothing happened, but it depends on where you are. You might be in that like far and wide, does one thing in their profile match what you like, swipe on it and see what happens. But I think that it depends on where you are. But I do miss the good old days of going into a bar, walking into a party even. I was like, now my friend group is what it is, and I know who's single. And we would have done this 10 years ago if we were going to do it, or we did it already. So it's interesting.
No, absolutely. I think, let's just say even 5 years ago, online dating, there was a little bit of taboo there. Like it almost meant like you couldn't find a person in real life, so you had to resort to, right? There was a stigma associated with it. Now it's just the norm, and it's way more accepted, if you will. Also, the way in which people date is different market to market. Like New York is very straightforward, like what we doing, right? Men and women, what are we doing? LA, not so much. Atlanta is a whole different potato. Chicago is interesting. It's like a southern big city type vibe, as someone who has dated on all these markets. But it's different. But what I found though is that I grew up in New York, basically. I mean, born and raised in Louisiana until I was 18, and then I spent 16 years in New York. So I became a woman in New York. So I'm used to directness. Like, what are we doing? If you don't want to do that, that's cool. Move to the left, please, because brother behind you, come on through. It's very different, and that energy you have to dial back. Well, not have to. Well, you do. It's a different way of flowing in different places and spaces. I've had a lot of interesting dating experiences as a result of online. People who are in my DMs, if I don't know them or we don't know a lot of the same people, it creeps me out. Like, you can call people through Instagram.
Oh, right. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
And the way I found that out is because somebody kept calling me over and over and over and over and over and over. I was like, oh, how do we turn this setting off?
Wow.
Somebody like that. And the crazy thing is you meet a lot of people, as we all do in our day-to-day lives. I don't know who Hot Pocket 73 is. And your name is JJ. Like, I don't know who that is. And your profile picture is a cartoon. I don't know who you are. It could have been somebody I knew. But if I knew you, you'd have my number. But I'm just saying. So they're just so many things, and it's like a whole new way of dating. It's a whole new way of speaking. I'm not a very good flirt via text. I'm just not. Like you said, Stephanie, like you're connecting with people, but how do you get that conversation flowing? Honestly, my opening line was, hello, how are you? I apologize. I don't really have an opening line. This is the best I have. Smiley face, wink. I used to keep that in my notes and copy and paste it to everybody. Yep.
You are not the first person that talked about the copy paste. I was watching the show on OWN. I don't know if you're familiar with it, called Ready to Love.
Okay.
There was, and it's a show where they pick singles in a certain area. I think last year was Houston. I think now they're in DC, and they pick 20 singles to date one another, and it's supposed to end and couples hopefully agreeing to be in a monogamous relationship. There was one dude, and you could tell they hired him because he was good for TV. And my person looking at him, I said, I would never take a man like that seriously, because he was just good for TV.
And men get offended when you say that.
What? That what?
They
That
sure do.
what?
And I'm only speaking as a heterosexual female who dates men, so I can't speak about other experiences. When you tell them you're the good time person, you're not somebody you take serious, they get offended, even though they know they ain't shit. They get offended.
Really? I have dudes kind of, you know what? You're right. Because my homegirl just recently told a guy that, and he did get offended. And it's just like, I guess they feel like what type of energy I'm putting out there. But it's like, bro, we all read your energy. And this guy said the same thing. He said, he said he go, I think he's been on an, I don't know, I think he said like a crazy amount of dates. I want to say 1,000. Correct me, am I wrong? And he said, all I do is copy paste to the people online. I guess he has a strategy. Like your friend said, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there. And it's just like, does that not become overwhelming? Like, it's just like, I can't keep up. I know in my experiences with apps and stuff, I'm like, who was this? What conversation? Where did we last left off? Like, I'm not it has its like for me. So speaking of communication, and Dana, you said I'm not a good text. I'm not a good flirt. Text, right? How are you ladies in communicating? Like, do you prefer texts, calls, FaceTimes? And if so, what do you experience? Are the brothers out here? Because we're talking as heterosexual women who date men, and like I said, we can't talk to other experiences. But in this realm, how has that been? Have you been receiving your preferred method of communication? Are men just texting you to death? What do you like, and what have you been experiencing?
I feel like sometimes it's interesting because the same person could be saying the same thing or talking to me in the same way, and I'm annoyed, and then somebody else does it and I'm not bothered. So that's not helpful information. I understand that. But like, I find that there is something about my opening line tends to be like, similarly, hey, how was your day? I don't know how to start a relationship out of thin air. Haha, kind of thing, which is what I'm doing when I'm out in public, but it just feels less like I'm creating a relationship out of thin air. And a relationship being friendship, whatever. It's just like, I don't know you, but I'm gonna sit here and pretend like I do, I guess. And I don't mind the messages, but too many messages get on my nerves. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, things will fizzle. Like for some, I cannot explain to you exactly why things fizzle, but they do. And I don't know, you could call it a vibe, you could call it disinterest. I do think now that we are dating online and living most of our lives online, we are in information overload. There's so much going on. We don't even see it anymore. Like, you know, I mean, unless Idris is coming through my feed, I'm just like, whatever. Like, I don't even see anybody anymore. And it's just because I'm looking at pictures all of the time in life in general. So I think it has desensitized us, or me, I can say, maybe to the nuance and the specificity of each individual human. In the same way, if I were out there speed dating, I'd be really giving that 5 minutes to that person. Which didn't really answer the question. I don't know. Dana, what's working for you? Because do not call me. If they called me like they were DMing you, I'd be like, we're going on block. I'm sending your number to the feds. Like, get out of my face. And I stay Googling their phone numbers, checking the jail records. Like, and I'm over here doing that. Meanwhile, I've like dated people with not great, like, I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, I treat online completely different than I treat the people that I meet in person.
I think if I give you enough energy, say if we meet on an app and I give you enough energy and you give me enough energy, now you can call through the apps.
Yeah.
So right. Or I also have a Google Voice number.
Oh, okay.
I do that. But I think, kind of echoing what you said, Stephanie, it just depends on the person. Like, I've dated guys where we only FaceTimed. Like, that's just the way we prefer to see. And we would FaceTime for hours each day. Don't ask me why, but we did. And then I've dated guys where we don't FaceTime whatsoever, and we're predominantly on the phone, or we just rather see each other in person. it does just depend on that person. If I'm serious about you, or I feel like I could be serious about you, I want to spend time with you in real life. I want to see you with your friends. I want to see you with your family. I want to see you. What's the company you keep, and how are you interacting with people? And like you said, it's not going to take me long to make that decision, and that's why I want to move this along. What are we doing? I'm older now, so I don't want my time wasted. I don't have the energy. I can't comb my hair. I can't deal with you. So let's figure it out. And the reality is this: if you're feeling somebody, and they know if they're feeling you. Like, what are we doing?
Man,
that's it.
Like, what are we doing? Yeah.
I think for me, with the dating and the apps that I remember that I've had experiences that would get frustrating with guys is that fizzle out thing. Like, it's just like, and then it's like you just call and text it. That's all you got. I'm gonna need, you got a couple of days to set up a date with me.
Mm-hmm.
And when a man has done that, I'm like, what? He said, oh, I want to see you this day. This is, these are the reservations. This is where we're going to meet. I was like, oh, okay. That stands out. And that's a shame that something like that stands out. That is like, he's the one that decided to say, okay, took the lead, was a man, does what a man is supposed to do, but he stood out the bunch. And I'm like, and talking to men sometimes, they're like, they're good dudes out there. I'm like, no, I think they think they're good. Like, and they think that, oh my gosh. And it's like,
I think I'm drawn to alpha personalities. I know I'm a strong personality, so you have to be an alpha personality. And I see how you move in the other aspects of your life. And you're a go-getter, and you want this, and you're assertive. If I was something you wanted, my feeling is then you would be assertive and you would come and get it. I've dated where, again, I date men. So, and I'm only speaking from this perspective, where before the first date is over, or that date is over, they're making plans to see you again. You never have to wonder, when will I see you again? They're going to make sure that they're present in your life. Then if someone's kind of wishy-washy about whether or not I'm there, then I don't really have to be there. So I think most people are like that. We want what we want, and if we want it, we're going to figure out how to get it by hook or crook. Whether that's a snack, whether that's a new bag, whether that's that job, whether, you know what I mean, that plane ticket to that trip. If you want something, you figure out how to have it. And I think you need to be just as intentional with the people in your life and in your space. Because that's energy, that's time, that's resources that can have a lingering effect on who you are as a person. So yes, sun just came out from nowhere. So sorry about that. So yes, I think people. I think so. Social media and apps have allowed people to also hide and kind of like. Kind of string people along a little bit as well. And I find that frustrating.
Totally.
About the apps as well.
Do y'all think there's an overall lack of deep connection in relationships right now? And if so, like, why do you think that is?
An overall lack of connection?
Deep connection, you understand?
Because that involves vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
That involves being transparent. That involves, especially as you get older, being candid with yourself about your trauma and your past experiences and how they may or may not be affecting you currently. And doing this in the mirror is not an easy thing to do. Sometimes I have to ask myself, is this a trigger or is this real? Because I'm quick to pop off at the mouth. I'm quick. Maria knows. I love a good read, honey. I will read you to within an inch of your life without even cursing, toss my hair and walk away. But I have to ask myself, where is this coming from? Because I've been in some unhealthy relationships, Maria knows, as well, and those things can creep up, and you don't want something that you haven't done. I don't want something I haven't dealt with to affect my potential in my future. or mitigate that risk as much as possible. So I think opening yourself up for a deep connection is very difficult, because also if it doesn't work out, now you have to put yourself back together again. And then you have to go back into the world and you have to say, okay, I'm open to trying to do this again.
Right.
Which is exhausting. Well, and I also think it sounds like three of us on this call recognize that our lives are built and lived through the quality of the relationships we have. It's not the number of relationships we have, but I think we're old enough to realize the 52 friends, I don't need them. I need 3 good ones, you know? And the same thing in this case. And I think that the vulnerability is hard. I don't think anybody's out there like, oh, can't wait to date a mirror. I'm not out there looking for you, especially not immediately. And so to Dana's point, it's hard for me to look in the mirror and be like, oh, is that an issue? But the last thing I need is the person I'm dating. Like, that's hard too, when the person you're dating is like, you know what? I saw this, didn't love it. What's going on with you?
Right.
And so to get to that point where they feel comfortable saying it, you feel comfortable receiving it, or you can receive it. It also, my love language is quality time. I don't need you to talk, but I need you to be there. So my long relationships have not been successful for that reason. I've learned that. So I think in my case, the quality time is also needed. So I need to be vulnerable during that time, but I also just need to be around you. And to Dana's point, see you around others as well. But I want, people will say sometimes like, I want the oven baked. I'm not into the microwave. We've done the microwave relationships. They all had burnt popcorn burning down the house. Like at this point, we want, you know, the oven baked mac and cheese, slow and steady, then it's not overdone. So like, I think that it's hard to build a deep connection, but I do think in those beginning stages of the swiping, you swipe, see if y'all talk, see if they're getting back to you about dates. I also will say I am an alpha. I have only recently allowed them to plan the date, because I used to be like, I'm not wasting a night on you if it's not the way that I want it to be. So we will be going here. We will be doing this. This is the plan. You can show up or not. Because I'm not wasting, I could be with my friends, I could be with y'all. And I was not willing, y'all only recently my one friend was like, that's always my test. Like, what bar do they take me to? How much do they spend? This, that, and the other. And I get that. And those same tests I was running later in the experiment. But like, I used to be like, if you're being serious, here's what we will do, because I'm not wasting a fun night where I could be doing something else. Right. You picking the wrong place, showing up a mess, doing this all wrong. So I do think, and there's some letting go that I have to do, and I'm also working on. But I do think deep connection is hard. Deep connection was hard when we were in person too, though. So is there really an excuse? Probably not. It's on me. It's on me to force those conversations, to ask maybe not hard questions, but unique ones, to be authentic in my responses and not just say, oh yeah, in my childhood, da 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 da. Like when it's time, in my childhood, XYZ. In my past, I've dated X. Is that going to make you? Is that going to be a problem? He's in jail for life, but like, how do you feel about it? Like, I don't know. Like, are there certain things that, like, I also have to be honest, and that's hard in that vulnerability to do as well. But honestly, once you get to meeting them, like those conversations can happen on the phone. Those conversations can happen on FaceTime.
They do. And, you know, but I think also too, it's like, I feel like we're in an instant gratification society where everything is like overnight, or social media has painted this picture that everything happens overnight. So I feel like that has trickled into our relationships. Like, why haven't I connected with this person ASAP? And why, you know, we should be honest by the second date, and you know, like those kinds of things, you know, as well. But kind of to speak to your point, I feel like when I let go and I let them do and be, and I'm not like on them, I see who they are quicker. I definitely feel that. I mean, that's been my experience and how I feel. And I don't want to plan nothing.
Me neither.
I don't want to, but I'm not wasting my time. But I'm learning to let go. I'm learning.
No, it's not easy to do. It's not easy to do, but no, I don't want to plan anything at all. No, I don't.
I think there's instant gratification with the swipes too. And I had a friend tell me, and I'm still very serious about this. If you're not serious when you're on them, don't be on them. If you don't,
Right.
you're not actually going to reach out or actually like, don't even waste my time.
Yeah.
Because some of them, particularly Bumble, and that was another thing that I had to get off of, because I was like, I think they're just tallying up like how many swipes they get over here, not responding, not talking, not doing anything. So I think for some of them, and I need to do that too. It's like, if I'm on them, I need to be like active and participating.
I was going to say, I think you're absolutely right, because I've seen people who I know are in relationships on these apps, more than one. And you know, when you're in a certain city, look at Maria.
What?
I know you're in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have another friend who saw someone that she dated and then saw them back up, like they broke up or whatever. Like they just dated for like a few months, saw him on a nap, and like, that's not the name I know you as.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that also creates some caution to like, the person who really who they say they are. And like, I've had guys say, I just don't believe you are who you are. Can we just FaceTime? Because I've been catfished. And they've been very like, I've been catfished like so many. There's a whole multi-season series called Catfishing, you know, like,
right.
It's unfortunate that we're in this space, but again, it's like, this is just the way to meet people these days.
It is. And I think like one thing that's come to surface for me in these past couple months that I've recognized is I think that generations past understood the importance and value of partnership. I think that right now, if in your 20s and your 30s, there's this facade of time in life that I have more time to do that. I have more time to get serious. I'm just going to catfish people. I'm just going to be out here, you know, like you said, single, bilingual, ready to mingle. I'm just not going to take that part of my life importantly. But now I'm understanding that there is power in partnership, and most people don't know that. There is power, like, I don't think we recognize that our 50s are around the corner, our 60s, like, if we say like that, Dana, you and I, like, our 50s, I'm going to be like what 2007 was to me, 13, I'm going to be close there, right? And we think that we got time and we're just going to live at. And I think as a generation, we have kind of like put the quality relationships to the wayside because we have time. And it's not till you're faced with tragedy that you understand, maybe I don't have as much time as I thought. I did a podcast episode last year with someone, Henry, and he talks about having COVID. And he had it at the top of, you know, COVID. And then him and his fiance at the time were together, and they had planned to have like a wedding, a destination wedding, maybe 2021. But he said it was in that experience where I didn't know if I was going to wake up the next morning that I looked at her and I said, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. I want to die a husband. Like, it's in times that we don't, when life starts lifing and someone's not to your left or someone's not, you get sick, you get an ill diagnosis. We think in our 20s and 30s that we're kind of like exempt from this. So we just think we just play around. And then you look up, you're in your 40s and your 50s and your 60s, and you don't have someone sitting next to you. And it's like, that's because you made decisions that have resulted in you being by yourself. So I think like we have taken, we've taken for granted life in our 20s and 30s. We think we have so much more time. We're chasing, Dana, you and I were having this conversation the other day, like chasing career and all this other stuff. And then it comes to a point where you realize what is really important in life. And you can have the career, you can have all of that. No one's not saying that you can't. But I think that there's something that happens as you get older that you start to recognize what's really important. And I think in your 20s and your 30s, sometimes you don't know because life hasn't hit you. Life hasn't, not to say life hasn't smacked people in their 20s and their 30s, but as we get older, we're starting to bury parents. We're having children, they could be ill, we could fall ill. Friends, D, you just told me the other day about somebody passing away all of a sudden. People are getting divorced. Like, problems get serious as we get older, or you have a sick parent or elderly parent come live with you. Life starts life, and it's just like, damn, we don't think about that. We think about, oh, I'm out here living my best life like it's golden. Mm-hmm. And then when you get hit with life, you're like, damn, it would be nice to go through this with someone. But because we didn't want to do the work, be vulnerable, we out here shaking and mingling, you like, I don't have that connection with someone. Someone told me this. He's like, oh, you get sick, who's going to help you in the middle of the night? You by yourself. And he's like, who going to be there? You gonna call? Your dog can't help you. Your cat can't help you. Like, you understand, like, look at the decisions that you're making. I was like, oh, you're right. And someone recently, for me, tested positive for COVID. He's a single man, and he's close to me. And I moved and I shaked to make sure I like send him everything that he needed. He's a family member. And I said, damn, this is what my friend was talking about, that, yo, if he had a partner with him, it'd be different. But I'm like, all he had was, me to help him out. So I think, like, it's sobering to understand we might not have as much time as we have, and you don't know what good life is going to hit you back then, later down. I'm not saying not to rush into things, but I think, like, we haven't seen what life after 50 years on this earth is, and we take this for granted. And
go ahead. I'm sorry, Maria. I just wanted to say, I don't want that to scare people into making decisions and settling though either. But I just think that when we're younger, we don't know about, or we're not really taught about, the power of intention and moving through space and time with intention, and being intentional about the company we keep and the energy that we give. We're not really taught about that, which is why we learn so many hard lessons at younger ages. And as I get older, it's about just being intentional with my time, being intentional with my mental health, being intentional with my body, being intentional with whatever my resource, my energy. I'm used a lot for my energy. But I've also seen how when people settle, how that can have catastrophic effects on their life when they settle out of fear. I've been with this person X amount of time, they gonna marry me. You ain't had no business being with them in the first place. And you know that. Right. But you put in the time, or you feel like something's owed to you, or I've come this far, I might as well, or I'm getting older. I have a friend who moved her wedding date 3 times just to make sure she was married before she was 30. And so different things like that. I don't want fear to be our motivator, but yes, partnership is very, very important. And looking at when you're dating, if you're in a serious dating space, some people are just, not in that space, which is totally fine. But if you're in a serious dating space, be intentional, looking at the person. Yeah, you're attracted to them. Yeah, you have a good time, but could they be a partner? Can they show up? Some people don't know how to show up. Can they show up in the way that you need? As you were saying, Stephanie, earlier, your love language. Can they show up for you?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Like, I'm not trying to scare anyone, but I do want to bring reality to out here. And I think, like, for me personally, and that's why the next episode after this is what I wish I knew in my 20s. And I'm intentionally going to talk to young women in their 20s because there are things that I wish people told me. And I'm all about, I have a platform and I give my life in service to women and girls. And I think I have been taught to be so independent. This is this and da 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 that, and almost to like put a wall of protection when it comes to men, that I had struggled being vulnerable. And then when a real man shows up, he's like, perfect example. I'm on a date and he drives me home and he wants to, he parks in front of my building. He's like, oh, let me walk you to your door. I was like, no. I was like, no, for what? I was like, for what? Like, you got to drive all the way back to, I'm not going to say where he's from. You got to drive all the way back, you know, my friends know where he's from, but you got to drive all the way back, you know, and like, I'm good. I'll call you when I get in the house. This was our second date. I will never forget. And I texted when I got in and my phone rang. I'm like, ooh, he's like, oh, why you ain't want me to walk you to the door? I was like,
you live with a dude?
I was like, what? I was like, nah, you have to. I was like, no, I'm just being courteous. Like, you got to drive all the way back. And he's like, yo, let me tell you something, Maria. You got to let me be a man. Ain't no way you're going to be on a date with me and I'm not going to make sure you get back into your house okay, all right? So I don't know who you used to deal with, but I'm the man. And I was like, oh, right. Like, I was like, okay. I was like, well, sign me up, boo. Like, and it's just, again, because I had been so conditioned to think, you know, no, shy away from someone showing up to help me. And that's what I mean. Nobody taught me that. Like, I just thought like, that's okay. And in that, I've learned the beauty and the benefit of partnership that I don't think we talk about enough, especially when it comes to women. I'm all about having your paper, stacking your bread, making sure you good internally, mentally, physically, creditly. I know I just made that up, but making sure your credit is good, all of that, right? I'm making sure that you good. And in that, it's okay to say, I want a partner, and there's beauty and there's benefits in that partnership that I feel like a lot of us don't know, that generations before us understood, and they did it, and we over here like, you know, and I'm all good for a hot girl summer. You know, I am the hot girl summer veteran queen, honey. Mess around with me if you want to, but I also understand now.
Don't do it, Stephanie. Don't mess with her, Stephanie. Don't.
Mess with my hot girl summer.
I'm retired. Retired.
Your liver will thank me later.
Partnership. There's beauty in partnership. There's beauty in that. And, you know, as I'm getting older, for me, I'm understanding what's more important, and I'm willing, courtesy of my therapist, I'm willing to get vulnerable, transparent, and do things that 25-year-old me wouldn't do to make sure that I'm making the decisions so that when I look up in my 40s and my 50s, I can be proud of where I am. And me and my homegirls, when we have relationship issues, I always say, what would your future self thank you for to make that decision? You understand? If you're in a situation right now, you think like, damn, should I be paid? What would your future self thank you for? Then go with the decision that your future self would thank you for. That's what I'm saying there. Does that make sense?
No, that makes
sense too. I mean, I was a hot mess express in my 20s, so I had no business being in something as serious, as thoughtful, as intentional as what I would be, you know, within, I don't know, the last 7 years. So I think there's that element too. And also giving myself grace and space to be like, okay, that wasn't great, but to both of your points, nobody said otherwise. I didn't really know what I was out there doing. Society evolves. I was kind of evolving with it. I also think there's this concept of it takes a village to raise a child, and then people get married and all of a sudden the village is gone and it's the one person. So I was like, I don't want one person expecting me to be their mama and their wife and they're, they want to be playful and fun, but they also want me to be super stable and serious. And it's just like, all of a sudden we go from having a rich group of support and friends and resources to being like, okay, you're going to give all of this to me. So recognizing that, like, you can still have a really close friend. And I call one of my best friends my soulmate, like whoever the next one, the guy that comes into my life, my lover, whatever is, like, Kimberly will always be my ride or die, known me since middle school, been through it with me in a way that we can tell him about it, but he's never been there. And it's okay to take bits and pieces from other relationships, friendships, if you're in a monogamous relationship, y'all know what I mean, but it's okay to be vulnerable in other relationships in addition to this one. And like Dana said, don't settle. Don't go out right now after listening to this podcast and being like, okay, I have to be intentional, find someone. Because when you're looking, sometimes it doesn't happen. And I don't want you to get into what I feel, which is like, am I less than? Is there something wrong with me? We are not encouraging you to go out and try to find somebody. And when you don't, you feeling bad about yourself. Mm-hmm. Look internally first. What is it that you want? And stand firm in what you want. The way a guy is going to show up for you, or girl, or whatever you are interested in is going to show up for you is going to be very different than what Stephanie Banan needs a guy to show up for her in. So it is okay that Maria needs different things and Dana needs different things and I need different things, but we are strong in our conviction of what we realize we now need from our partner. And I may need more in one area and less in another area. It doesn't make me better or worse. It doesn't, like, you all know I am okay with setting up the date. I am working on that because I know I need to release that. But at the end of the day, if I never worked on it and I still find my person, that's possible.
That's
so
right. That is true.
You got to know what are your priorities? Where are you being intentional, and what is important to you? And someone will fall into that place, and it's okay to be open about it. See what happens. You never know. But I think that it's not something you want to force yourself into, but you do if that's what you're hoping for in life. And it's hard for me to say that because I have a very, very good friend, turned 40 this year, is really excited. Just started dating somebody pretty seriously, which is exciting, but had been waiting and has known for years exactly who she was looking for and exactly what she wanted. It just wasn't there. And maybe that means change your demographic, maybe that, or your location. Maybe that means start going to more events and parties and things and getting out there. Maybe that means adding another app. Or paying for an app. I don't know. Do they work? Not sure. I can't say. Some people are like, well, it's a higher quality if you're paying for it. I've been on all of them. I've paid some serious money and there ain't nothing there that I know of, but maybe for you there is. So I think it varies, but you got to know you. Yes. Whether you're dating online or dating in person, you have to know you and what you want. And I know that I want Blake Griffin. So when you hear this, call me.
Yeah, we're going to send it to him, sis. We're going to send him this.
I'm done. No, but I had a,
go ahead, Dana.
I was going to say, I had a therapist tell me once, everybody focuses on what they want, but nobody ever talks about what they don't want. And if you can write a list down on some things that you know are serious rule breakers for you, and someone you're with is checking these things off, the serious things on, why are you still dating them? Because I was in a very unhealthy relationship at the time. Maria knows all about it. And they're like, so why are you still dating this person? I'm like, oh, but they do have this and this. They're like, but they don't have this. This is a red flag. You hate this and you hate this. So what are you doing? And then also I will say something that really worked for me and really changed my dating life is just being open, and going out and just having a good time on my own. I'm the queen of the solo date. I love dating me. Okay. And when I was out and about and I had that energy, I was attracting that energy. So, like the phrase is, when it rains, it pours. When you're hot, you're hot. The same thing happens, that energy applies to when you're going out and you're meeting people as well. So I think being open, I've had friends say, I won't date a man under 6 whatever. You have to be X, Y, and Z space in your career. Excuse me. I feel like those things aren't necessarily realistic all the time, because your perfect person may not be in the exact perfect package that you exact thought, but they could be the best thing for you in your life. So I think it's just a matter of you have to be open. I think you just have to be open and continue to live your life. And then that person can come in and complement it. I think, Stephanie, you may have been saying it earlier, it's unfair to expect that person to be your everything. That is not healthy. Whoopi Goldberg has a book, if somebody says you complete me, run.
Right.
I can't, because that's too much emotional responsibility. I have a bad day, then everything falls to shit. I can't work. That's too much, and vice versa. So yeah, I'm just echoing y'all's sentiments.
I agree, Dana, I agree. And to your point, you said about like not everybody being everything, and also you just being out there. I think for me, one thing that helped is doing the work on me. Like there was a time last year around this time where I lagged out of every app. I said, oh, I am done. I was just tired. And then, I had a lot of things going on work-wise. The end of the year, that especially last year was very busy, quarter Q4. And something in my spirit was checking me. Like, Maria, you need to do some therapy, right? And I went to therapy for some childhood stuff that was coming up that I thought was healed, but obviously 2020 brought up a lot of trauma. And in that, we started talking about relationships. And a couple months into my therapy, I was like, sis, why we talking about relationships? Like, Maria, you tell me that you do want to be married and children and all those other stuff. But I say that to say, when I was intentional about me and I started dating again, I want to say after my birthday this year, my swag, although was great before, was totally different. And I remember being on a date with someone, same young man who told me, Maria, you gonna let me walk to you? Clearly he made it, right? So I think this was the next day after that. We were sitting down at dinner, and he said, and he was just like, something about, Maria, like music industry, Maria, I bet you blah blah blah, something like, back then I thought you probably had mad dudes or whatever. And I said, nah, but I was 25, and that girl and this woman is two totally different people. You understand? And I think, like, when you look at girl, I'm over 35 now. 25-year-old me and 36-year-old me are two totally different people. And it's all about being intentional about who you're becoming, so that you can attract what it is or whom it is that you want in your life. There's not a relationship that I've been in that I said I went after. It just showed up on my door, and I'm like, oh, you cute, I like you, whatever, blah blah blah. And then we go keeping on. That whole, like, having multiple dates and strategizing and forcing it doesn't work for me. For somebody listening, it might, but for me, what's worked for me is just like being me, focusing on being my best self. And like you said, the partner, he'll show up. And when he does, he'll be, for me, it's, you be like, damn, you ain't what I asked for, but you sure what I need. So
or you might say you're what I asked for, and everything I didn't know I needed.
Ooh, that's good.
Say that too.
That's good. That's good. So we talking about social media, honey. So I know that a lot of people have different opinions about this question. How do you feel about posting your partner, sharing your relationship with the world? And if you don't, is there a private way to do that?
I don't.
Okay. Why not?
No. And even my friends know. They will ask me. I've never. One time when I was very young, going back to childhood, my business got out there. No, never again. I do not It's also a lot of pressure on social from what I understand, but I'm not about to be defined by this relationship. It's also none of your business. If it's ever meant to be your business, you'll meet us in person. We'll all go out and get a drink or whatever, but I don't highlight. I just have heard and seen more disaster stories than I have positivity.
Right.
Even from people who you think are your friends, and also from like trolls. That just seems like not a space in which like negative energy that you don't need. But maybe not. I don't know.
It does work for some people. I don't think I'm one of those people. It just doesn't work for me. But I've seen it. I have seen both sides. I've seen it work successfully and not so successfully. I've seen people get upset if you don't turn around and follow them right back. People will now go through your social media when they meet you. And that's how they make up their mind about you. And I often hear, I've never seen a guy on your page. I hear that quite a bit and that's just not what I choose to do, So yeah, because I also don't want to have to explain my breakup if there is a breakup. I don't want to have to explain. I feel like speaking for me, I feel like social media makes you have to explain things to people who don't know.
That's very true.
And so that's a part of my love-hate relationship with social media. But, it does work for some people.
I think I heard someone posted this the other day. Apparently, I think sis has been married, but I guess because men had been sliding into her DMs so much, she posted it and she said, "This is so y'all could leave me the heck alone. Yes, I am in a whole relationship." And I think as you get older, you get wiser on that, right? Like, have I in my previous relationship? Yes. Like Dana, you know me from back then, he was on my page. Now I'm like, no, they're not going to be on my feed. They're not going to be on my page. He's not going to be on my page until I have his last name. You understand? Then I feel like I can, and even then with my husband, I'm not sure. I might just post it just so people know Maria got married. You understand? Not so it could be like, just so it could be like, I'm married, shut up, mind the business. I love Kerry Washington because Kerry Washington is married with 2 kids. And everything that Kerry Washington does is based on her career. She's someone I just love how her private life is kept private. Not everybody's for that. And I am also willing to, if something in my love story is going to help someone else, I'll share that on the appropriate platform, whether it's a Black love. I think Black love is amazing. It's one of my
Cody.
You know what I mean? I love that show. If it's something like that, if it's, a podcast or something, that I'll share it. But, I'm just like, there's certain things that I'm just like, not on that main page. You don't need to know. My friends, they'll know what my situations are.
Right.
But it's just like, nah. And I think like, maybe the younger ones feel that pressure a little more, but there's beauty in protecting what you have. The whole world. Someone was just telling me yesterday that she thinks somebody that we follow is married, and that person said, if I am, y'all not gonna know. Y'all gonna be the last person to know. So it just is what it is. So with that being said about social media, does social media make you feel insecure about the people you're dating? Like, are you paying attention to what they're posting, who's commenting? One of my girlfriends right now, I think she should stop dating. She should stop following the person she's dating, and she hears and she knows what I'm talking about, because she's always like, and he posted and this, and I'm like, stop following him. So it's just like, how do y'all feel about following the people you're dating, and does it make you insecure?
I'm never somebody I dated, to be honest with you.
Well, I don't have a social to follow them with. I do. I'll run the background check. That's a little different. That's just about my safety. But after that, and I also am not a go through the cell phone thing.
You serious with the background check?
Yes.
Oh my God.
I've done background checks.
Or like at least look them up by their phone number just to see if anything comes up. Because like I don't actually know you.
How do you do something like that?
How do you do something like that?
Yeah, how do you do background checks?
Girl, if you don't Google it, if you do not Google it,
Google it.
you better Google
I've done
it,
the
and you
background
always
check.
Google their phone number. But as far as social, I also don't always feel like that is an authentic representation anyway. But I understand once you're dating them, I just think that that's going to get you into more mess than you need to be in. I don't know, or maybe not. People probably like it. I am not, although I've been cheated on quite a few times, and this is probably why, because I'm not following you on social. I do not have the time to go through your phone. I just feel like whatever happens in the dark is going to come out in the light, and I just have to believe that. So, and it does, as far as I'm concerned. And the ones who have, and I never found out, I guess. But like, I don't hold a lot of stake in following them on social.
Right.
Or in seeing it and being like bothered. I don't know. And I can't help it if people are thirsty and people are in their DMs. In my opinion, that's not his fault.
Right.
It's his fault with what he does with it afterward. But like, I can't, what is he going to do? If he just leaves it there on red, like, I don't know. Maybe I'll know more, but I can't help it if people are going to get up in your DMs and I'm dating you. I don't think that has anything to do with them. It has something to do with you if you're the one reaching out. That's a different story, of course.
Right. I think too. Go ahead, Tina.
No, I was just gonna say, and I'm apologize, I'm gonna have to run soon. Don't yell at me. I have found out people have been married by happenstance, like they've shown up into my feed. And like we've been flirting or we've been dating, and I don't like that. Like I had literally no clue you were married. How does that work? But you know, like you said, everything in the dark comes to light. Okay. It does come out in the light. Even when I'm not looking for it. I was on a date with somebody earlier this year, and they got a whole other family in a whole nother state.
Wow.
No, they don't.
Had no clue. And the way I found out was someone took a picture and tagged them. Wow. Someone I tagged them in the picture. And so I saw it, and they have a whole nother family. So I quickly screenshot their Hinge profile. Because what you're not going to do is put me out there, because it's always going to be my fault. It's always going to be,
right.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean when I say that. So I was like, yeah, you know, we're not doing this. And we're in the same industry. I was like, yeah, we're not doing this. And once I called him out on it, I've never heard from him since. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting landscape.
It is. And I think too, like, what I don't want to be is a pendeja, right? And a pendeja, and all my Latin Spanish people know what I'm talking about. Like, it's a dummy. And it's like, to the point of what you just said, D, like, oh, he was married, you know, had a whole family. How many times, and all of us on this can attest to seeing people post happy, loving couple relationships, and you know for a fact her man is either sliding in your DMs, sliding your homegirl's DMs, or he out here just being a hot mess, you know? So it's just like the embarrassment of it all sometimes. And I'm not deterring anyone if you feel like you want to post your life away. But sometimes it's like those very pictures that one person may be envying, like, oh my God, their goals, their Black love, their couple goals. You have no idea what's really going on behind closed doors. I never look at anybody's page as a couple post and say goals. I'm like, I do not know. I know my problems in my world. I don't want their problems. So let me keep that being said. Indeed, I know you gotta go. So I wanted to wrap with one last question on social media and relationships. Have y'all ever used social media to check up on your exes? Ooh.
I've never used it to check up on an ex. However, a girl who was like commenting and kind of like was it being snarky or whatever with me, I went to her page and saw him in the picture. And I was like, oh, that's why.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, okay, this makes sense. But no, because no.
I feel like once they're done, they're done.
Yeah.
I mean, it was full of shit in real life, so why I gotta see
that I see around on the social, so I know what's up because they're active, like very active. Otherwise,
no, it's like I rather mop the ocean. I would rather mop the whole Atlantic Ocean than check on ex on social media.
Also, I'm not trying. No, I'm not giving you that satisfaction. What if there's a way for them to find that out? Like, no.
There are people who find out everything too, and you're like,
no, I don't need you knowing that I clicked on anything with your name, even.
What I've noticed is back in the day, like what I noticed is once you search somebody, every time like you go on your search button,
yep,
come up. You're not taking my mental health away. Like, you're not doing any of that. So I don't agree with that. And
the worst about that is LinkedIn, because LinkedIn tells you who looked at your profile. And they will send you like an email in real time if you have a premium package.
Oh wow. Oh,
be careful with that LinkedIn.
My
LinkedIn will get you.
My words of wisdom, because I know we have an audience that can be as young as 16 and up to, our audience ranges from like 16 to anywhere to like 45, 49. And I know that my younger ones are more tempted to check people's pages. Leave them people alone. Let them be.
Why? So you can feel bad?
Right. It's like,
what are you going to garner from that?
Yeah, if it's let me tell you, if something is triggering for you, then it should not be like, get it out of your life. If you're don't follow them, don't see who he's following, see who's commenting on his page, delete, block, do what you need to do.
It's not worth it.
You can heal, you understand? And you can be better for the next person or just for your purpose overall in life. Like, I think
it's none of your business.
It isn't.
It's not going to make you have a better day. So
no, you should be focused on you and moving yourself forward.
It's going to steal your joy. It's going to make you even more frustrated. So it's like, no, honey. And one last piece of advice I will say to people: I don't block people because I want them to see the glow up. I'm like, I know one thing's for certain, two things for sure. Y'all always come back around. Men always come back around. I may not know you coming back around, but I know you checking for me. And I want you to have the full seat, the full first class seat to my glow up. So I am not going to block you. Keep following me, sir, because you're going to see all this magic. You know what I mean? And I'm just going to be like, happy, living my little best life, and that's why I don't believe in blocking people on IG, because I'm like, or any Instagram, I'm like, yeah, you gonna check up on me. I'm too fly.
I'm quick with block. I don't care. I'll block you. I don't care.
I'm not blocked. If I block somebody, it's now because it's come down to no resort. Like, I'm not blocking you. It's not that serious. You understand? So that's
like, and I want you to see everything great that I'm doing. Buckle up.
I want you to have a first class seat to all God's magic. So any last words of encouragement for, all my ladies, men, whomever, whatever you identify as out here dating, with social media, dating in this digital age, as we close out this episode?
I would just say, be clear with who you are. Like, you don't have to even tell me. You don't have to tell anybody else, but be clear at least with yourself on who you are and what you're looking for, and move with intention.
Yeah, I'm +1 to that. I was going to say, be you on social or off. Whoever you are, and be who you want to be.
Yeah.
Ooh,
like, always walk in, this is who I want to be. You got it. Y'all got it. Y'all know what y'all are doing out there.
Sorry, I heard a loud noise in the hallway. I was like, sorry.
All right. So yeah, I just echo all of that. Like, you understand. And like I let Stephanie, you said, every three of us are three different women with three different needs, three different likes, desires, wants, right? And that's okay. And I want to end on that note that when you're dating out there, what may work for your homegirl may not work for you. And you know what's good for you, right? If you say, and sometimes that's scary to admit, because you feel like, damn, she want that, all of them want that, but I want this. You know what I'm saying? Or they want that and I don't want that. So I think you have to be okay and be really intentional with thinking about, I'm gonna leave everybody with that note. I say to my homegirls, think about your future self, where you want to be where you really want, without the fear, without the trauma. Where do you really want to be 10, 15, 5 years down the line, and make the decisions that woman would thank you for today. That's
absolutely.
All righty. So make sure y'all subscribe, share with a friend, comment below, tell us what you think. And until next time, ladies. Oh, tell the people where to follow you. Dana, I know it's at Just Dana Blair.
That's it.
At Just Dana Blair. Stephanie, I know you really said you
Y'all can email me, stephanie.banat@gmail if you need anything. Find me on LinkedIn. Okay. That's as much as I got.
Find her on LinkedIn. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for this wonderful conversation. Until next time, ladies, always be a woman who embraces her legacy. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Embrace Her Legacy podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, please make sure to subscribe and visit embraceherlegacy.com to make a donation or sign up to become a part of our community of volunteers and supporters, the Embrace Her Legacy Collective. Make sure you follow us at Embrace Her Legacy to get daily inspiration and join our movement. Thank you for listening, and remember, you're enough, you're worthy, and you're a phenomenal woman who embraces her legacy.